I do that today.
Alrighty, welcome to the February 10th, 2025 Safety Committee meeting. We call the meeting to order, all in attendance. The three aldermen present make the full quorum with Mayor Hobbs in addition, including a representative from each department that's on the agenda. As far as citizen comments, is there any citizen comments that we do not see?
We don't have any citizens.
We see, we are all citizens. Some of us are. I don't see, like of Manchester. Do everybody live in the city? Y'all are citizens? No? See, they're not citizens. Not citizens. Gosh. All right. John, you live in Tullahoma, don't you? You're not a citizen either. All right, so we'll go ahead. We have approval of the agenda. Agenda's in front of you.
Yeah, move.
Second. All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. All right, approval of minutes from 1/13/2025. I'll entertain a motion on that once you guys are satisfied with the minutes.
Moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Also,
Motion passes 3-0. The minutes are fantastic, considering they're done remotely. Thank you for doing that. All right, so we'll go ahead and get on to comments from the departments, and we will start with Codes Department.
So for departmental review, my stormwater program coordinator had her first day today. I spent quite a bit of time with her, she's not from the area, so I kind of chauffeured around a little bit, and I think the first week or two, she's really going to be familiarizing herself with the area in general. So I did that. All the departments have been submitting safety plans, severe weather plans, fire evacuation plans, and doing training on those. I'm working on compiling those into a nice big document. The police department did some active shooter training for us at the end of January. They did a great job. We didn't quite have the attendance that we wanted, so we may end up doing another one of those. And then our employee safety committee that meets quarterly. We're slowly but surely becoming a little bit more active and involved than we have in the past. So that's exciting. And then from that, I'm going to try to start providing you all with an employee safety report. I've got, there's two tables here, and I've worked closely with Kelly down in finance and Tina in HR, and we're still working out a process to get this just to be easier. So the top table is going to be the type of accidents we have, and then the bottom table is going to be the departments that those accidents are coming from. I mean, right now we're at the very beginning of the year. So as time goes on, the goal is to see, how we're doing in comparison to last year, how we're doing in comparison to seasons, what kind of accidents we have more than others, so we can see what kind of training we need in the future and things like that. So this is kind of a preliminary report. Bear with me through this process. It's kind of new to me.
Are you familiar with TCIR, total case incident rate?
I'm not.
It's the manufacturing standard for injuries per 1,000 hours worked, I believe is the number.
Okay.
And there's a world-class standard 1.0. So we could calculate this information into one overall number and be able to kind of grade ourselves
Okay. Would
against.
that be like a software we would need to work?
It's just a calculation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I can get it for you. I can get the overall calculation.
Okay, and Kelly downstairs may know a lot about that as well. Um,
Tina may be familiar with it.
Okay, yeah, Tina, for sure.
It's fairly common in the manufacturing world.
Okay.
So, yeah, if we can give ourselves a target to shoot at and it not just be kind of figuring out the target over a 2 or 3 year period.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
That's
understand.
what it is. I like that idea.
All right. We'll inquire about that.
What did you say it was called? What did you say it was?
TCI, total case incident rate.
All right. I'll look into that. That's that. Do you guys have anything different you'd like to see on those reports? Or you kind of
No,
like the
this-
way I've got it laid out by
yeah.
type and then by department as well? Okay.
The only other thing I would like to see, Brittany, is if anybody had to miss work because of an
Yeah, so
incident.
like I said, we've talked about what kind of different ways to see things.
Lost days.
Okay. Okay. The other thing that I have on the agenda, I'm kind of just looking for feelers as to whether or not I would have support in this. It will not hurt my feelings one way or another. But, and I've seen a lot of complaints about it, I've seen them myself, but the city currently has 10 plus or minus vape shops, that are solely vape shops. I understand that those items are sold in gas stations and things like that, but, vape shops all by themselves. So in an effort to promote more versatile growth, or even to limit excessive exposure to the youth, the city could limit vape shop licenses. I would look for an ordinance to impact stores that utilize more than 25% of their sales for those types of products. And we could limit it based on population, we could limit it based on distance from stores, or distances from schools. And of course, all the ones that we have existing could be grandfathered in. And I would absolutely coordinate with MTS and or the city attorney, being limits on that, or, within bounds of what we can and can't do. But I just kind of wanted to see if that's something that you all would maybe want to pursue.
If you limit it to one for 5,000.
We can change, any of those we can change.
You can change the numbers.
Right, we could change, those are just some examples. So we currently limit, liquor store licenses, and that's kind of what made me think of doing it with this.
What's the limit on the liquor store license?
It's based on population, so it's not more than one license shall be issued for each 2,500 people,
So,
based on the last census. And if you all don't support this,
Yeah.
it's not gonna hurt my feelings, it doesn't matter to me at all.
I do support it, but there's something we're not gonna talk about tonight that's not here that becomes the issue when you have these things. Because not only am I for this, for vape, I think that you should do it for payday lenders as well. Any kind of lending institution that is not a bank.
Okay, somebody else mentioned that to me too, actually.
It's just, it's a historical, when you're looking at development, that's one of the things that they look for is payday lenders. How many of them do you got lined up in your town? I would be for it on both instances, but the challenge is on the back end. When a license opens up, so say you have a criteria that's based on population, once you cross that population and a license opens up, then you have to have a process, a really fair and equitable process as to who
Right.
obtains that next license. Because then what we're doing is we're creating value in these licenses. So you also have to have some things in place like, can I sell it to my cousin, and my cousin sell it to my cousin, my cousin sell it to my cousin, and we keep that license in our family for years? Like, all of those are things to factor in.
Okay,
How do we currently handle that with liquor stores?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, liquor stores can be carried over, if I'm not mistaken.
that's an Adam and
Is
Bill
that not
question.
correct? Are they allowed to transfer liquor store licenses over right now? Is that Can that change?
Is it based on location, perhaps?
That probably never comes up, so if you don't know it, it's not, it's okay, but like at the liquor store, if someone wants to sell the liquor stores, that license can be sold, can be transferred, correct?
I would assume it could, providing the other,
Yeah.
the other liquor stores out of business, and because it's based on per capita.
Yeah, but, so, say I own a liquor store and I want to sell it to you,
Mhm.
I can sell my license to you.
I would think so.
Yeah, see, and that all of a sudden becomes a valuable thing, because they can't get another one. So then what is my license worth?
Okay.
You know, so, like, maybe even put in some language where the license cannot be considered value of a sale, like, it, you know, I don't know.
Make them non-transferable
Yeah,
or?
or make it non-transferable.
So
I-
what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do, I mean, what's your intentions?
It's just something I've noticed, the continuous pop-up of these vape shops. I've seen a lot of people complain about it on social media, that that's all that this town's turned into is vape shops and some other things.
Chicken foods and
Yeah, I don't know that we can do
Mexican
that.
restaurants, so let's limit those too, you know?
If you don't want to,
I'm
that's
just saying,
fine.
no, I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay,
But I mean, that's just a reason I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
'Cause I thought that's where you're going. And it's good thinking,
okay.
and
And I didn't want to
Yeah.
get into all of that Ryan mentioned with you all not being, you know, for it.
Well, and I'm gonna tell you, I hadn't got to how I feel just yet.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Because I see both sides of the street. Because
too.
we're headed towards having more vape shops than we got vapors. But
What's the history behind the liquor store limits? I mean, what?
that's the other side of it. I would be more willing to say, leave it free market, but we've already got a process in place for limiting.
You know, that liquor store thing's been in place so long, I don't know if anybody knows what the history is.
Well, actually, if you want to go back to the original placement, pre-prohibition, these laws existed pre-prohibition, and they were modified down. There was something called the 6 Mile Law, where they wouldn't allow you to have a drink establishment within 6 miles of another drink establishment. They had basically figured out that would eliminate any new drink establishments at that period of time. And I don't think, and Brittany can elaborate on this if there is, but I really think that is just a modified pre-prohibition, where they were trying to push us into prohibition without prohibition.
I'm just curious how we even got there.
I tell you what we've got that we don't enforce, that I'd like to see enforced, is the sign laws. Because, you know, those big flowing in the wind,
Yes, I would love to ban those if we could do
well,
those.
we've got it in when we rewrote the sign laws a few years ago, we put,
So-
we're two per establishment. You go back and look it
2
up.
per establishment, and they can have them 30 days at a time, 3 times a year.
There you go. So I think if you enforce that, like it's supposed to be enforced, like it's written,
Right,
I think that'll take a lot of the eyesore away from the vape shops. But you have to enforce it on everybody.
I would like to just ban them altogether.
Well,
Um,
you know,
But the license limitation for liquor, it was part of our original 1972 code, is what it says. It hasn't been altered since, according to that. I was just saying.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because I was just
yeah,
curious.
the last census we had, we were at 500 people of being able to get another liquor store.
Well, I brought up the payday lending thing because there's math behind it. The more of those you have, the more opportunity you have to utilize them, and the more socially, economically, you see a decline in your community. Because they start taking payday lender to pay a payday lender to pay a payday lender to pay a payday lender, and just keeps on keeping on.
Well, I think they ought to outlaw every one of them myself, but I don't think we ought to outlaw them, you know? I mean, I'm against them, okay? It just keeps the poor people poor, and I don't mean anything bad by that.
Yeah.
But you got people going in paying 27, 28, 30, 40% interest. And that's the only place but that's another thing to look at. That's the only place they can get a little extra money, you know?
I think for me, the question becomes, what are we legislating?
Yeah.
Are we legislating a morality, or are we legislating, a structure? And we have to be careful about the first. I'd like to think about this some, because
That's my sole purpose here, is to just get feelers from you all.
In theory, I couldn't agree with you more, but I need to spend some time with it.
Sounds good. Those are the fun discussions.
One thing I want to bring up on this, you've kind of stumbled into grounds that I'm very passionate about on the
I'm
injury.
noticing.
Just one real quick note, sorry, on the licensing thing, there's some precedent not too long ago. Tullahoma had a liquor license open up, and there was a whole process as to who got that. It was dramatic. So you just look back on that and see, I want to say that they didn't allow it to be transferred or something like that. They didn't open up one, and they had to be some kind of lottery or something. It was not too long ago.
Sounds like from Alderman Messick, in the next census, we're gonna have one. I mean, if we were
Yeah.
that close, so it'd be good to have that
Yeah.
in place as we get to that next set of numbers.
Yeah, even for the liquor.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly for the liquor.
Mr. Mayor, this is something I would ask to be addressed in your next department head meeting. 2024, we had 4 slip, trip, and falls incidents. We're 40 days into 2025, and we've already had 3. So,
It's a lot. It's
I need to get with Kelly. I don't know if that's for the month of January in 2024.
Okay.
Or if it's,
okay.
I'm pretty sure that that's what it is.
But that's still a lot of incidents,
Yeah.
What
so.
department?
So we have one, slip and fall in finance. We have one in the fire department, and I'm not sure on the other one off the top of my head, but, so yes, I mean, and look, I wanna give Brittany some kudos, right? I mean, safety is something that is near and dear to my heart as well, and she's embracing this and actually doing a really good job of getting us where we're trying to go through her safety committee that's employee-focused, and she's starting to put a lot of stuff out for us to get better. So I do want to give her some kudos on that.
Oh, you can't be a good place to work if it's not a safe place to work.
Yeah.
So,
She's doing good.
Okay.
yep, excellent.
It sounds like we need to keep doing good between you two.
How many hours have been worked by all the citizens, by all the employees, and then that way we get that formula? Because it's gonna be based on that anyway, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's hours worked.
which will be piled out of Paycom,
Yeah.
so.
And look, as we get better at getting you guys data, that's the goals. And then you can look and see what the areas are. The employee safety, these guys are gonna start auditing different facilities, not the ones they work at. We're gonna let them have a good buy-in to help us with safety throughout the whole city with employees, which will really be good.
All right, good stuff.
All right, you're dismissed, if you want to be.
I'm all set.
All right, we'll move on to the fire department.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
No, what's he read?
That's a minor red. If you read, it's a minor red.
Good evening. Let's see here. So for the month of January, we had 25 burn permits we issued. We had 113 responses, which I believe was 25 more than we had last January. We responded to 14 motor vehicle accidents, 4 of which were in the county. We had 4 fires. We had 1 structural fire. Excuse me, 1 grass fire, propane tank fire. We responded mutual aid with Hillsborough. I'll explain the fires down here in a little bit. Fire marshal did 7 inspections in the month. Industrial park, conducted inspections against Fairfield Land, Rivendell Apartments, New Greek Restaurant near the Dollar Tree, 7-Eleven. And then follow up on various alarm system problems we had, because during the freeze, we had sleep-in suites, Ravago, Kasai, one of the Kasai buildings, and Home Depot all had freezing issues with sprinkler systems. So we've been working through those issues all month, and then, like last night, we got a response to Home Depot this morning at 2:30, and it was their dry pipe sprinkler system still had an issue, so we're working through that issue still. And then he also completed in-service training during the month of January. We installed 9 car seats for citizens during the month. We installed 16 smoke alarms in 3 homes. We had 17 EMS-related assists during the month of January. The structural fire was at a detached garage apartment on Woodland Street. It was caused by, you remember the old electric radiant heaters that you had in the old homes that were built back in the early 1900s, 1920s or whatever? Well, those things you can turn off, or you can turn down, but you can't turn it off. So it goes to a low setting, and it doesn't actually turn itself off. So they had it set on low, they left, they went somewhere for the weekend or whatever, it got cold, it turned itself on, something shorted out, caused fire. So it's pretty simple. And a propane tank fire at Freddy's, they were doing some cooking there, set a propane tank up, started it, and next thing you know, the fire went from the burner all the way down to the regulator, and we took care of that for them. Had a small grass fire off the road behind McDonald's, between McDonald's and the shopping center there, back in there. And then we responded to Hillsborough for a fire they had on C Street. And then it looks like I deleted it. We hired 2 new firefighters, Mr. Baumstein and Mr. Bolin, and now we have 10 personnel on each shift, which is great for us. Engine 611, even though it's red up here at the top, it's kind of like on limited service now, because we talked to the C&K mechanics on 41 South. They came in and checked it out. And of course, kind of like when your wife complains that her car makes a noise or whatever, it started first time every time, and it's done that ever since. But then we discovered, looking at it, there's a circuit board fuse panel inside the truck. So we're having some minor electrical issues, so Mr. Price was looking at it, he pulled the panel, discovered where the panel was at, and there was a relay that was fried inside that panel, it melted to the panel. So the panel's melted. So we've sent emails to the original manufacturer of the truck and another agency that deals in trucks, and between the two of them, we're looking for a circuit board panel, that we can replace the circuit board panel, and then we'll work our way back to resolve what other electrical issues right now we'll have with it. But right now, that panel is the problem. The truck works fine. We used it that was the truck we used during the live burn on the 30th of January. It sat out there and pumped all day long. Worked great. So, but now that you have that electrical problem, we don't want to put it in service. If we had needed it for an emergency, we can load it up and drive it anywhere we need to drive it at. Like the next one's conducted an acquired house burn. Just Chief Dickerson set that up for us, and everybody participated, and not everybody, we had like 22 guys. I think 22 out of 33 participated in the training. We had Tullahoma Fire there, refilling our air bottles. We had Coffee County EMS there, taking our vital signs and those kind of things. These guys, before they went in the fire and after they went in the fire, so we could judge that. It was great training. Then once we got finished, we strategically set fires in the home and put it on the ground. The owner of the property was extremely pleased with the results, and he was real happy and real glad that we got really good training. It was a great training environment for everybody.
And it actually was a condemned piece of property that he purchased and let us do that with. So it took, I know police and fire both were
Yes, sir.
making numerous calls
Yes, we were.
from citizens around the area about the home, people being in it. So not only did we get some great training, and I think the gentleman's name is Mr. Kelly, right? Brendan Kelly. I mean, so kudos to him for helping us, because when you burn these things, it's not just, hey, go set a match to
No,
it.
sir,
You
it's
have
not.
to take stuff off of it,
A lot
take
of
the
work.
shingles off. He did a lot of work on the front end just to let us train on that. So yeah. Just want to tell him thanks.
And even when we talked about it, we got finished, that house here sat here at 716 Ragsdale Road, and there's another house like a half a block over, or 2 lots over. He plans on purchasing that property and doing the same thing with that property.
Nice.
so we may get another one, which would be great. We assisted South Central Human Resource with their bi-monthly commodities drive over at the Ada Wright Center. We had all of our ground ladders and our 78-foot ladder tested. Met with myself and Chief Sipe and the comm center folks, met with their mapper for, we want to map out the Bonnaroo property, because there's roads in there, and there's permanent buildings in there. And like last year, we got a couple of responses, pre-Bonnaroo and during Bonnaroo, where they said, this was happening here, and then it puts it on a road over there, a Ragland Road somewhere, we have no idea where it's at, so we're chasing our tails and we're going to it. So the permanent facilities out there, we'll put a number on it, whatever road it's on, it'll be identified as that road, so we'll be able to see it on our Active 911, and I think that'll greatly help both us, Manchester PD, and Coffee County EMS, should something happen during non-Bonnaroo times, and it'll even help people during Bonnaroo times to figure out where those areas are at, so that'll be great. Personnel completed commission training in January for Sizing Up for Success, which is kind of the lieutenant's role and the captain's role, but everybody got the training. Then we did thermal imaging training on new thermal imaging cameras that we're using and that everybody uses throughout the state. And then we had a really good class on a modern elevator class. And then at the very bottom down there, you'll see where it said we had 3 elevator rescues at the rec center during the month of January. And it was just a person going to the 3rd floor getting stuck. It wasn't anything malicious or medical or anything like that. They were just continued to have the same problem. And we went up there one day, tested our keys, and had another issue. And so I'm working with AJ to get, because the contractor kind of comes in, fixes whatever, and he leaves, and didn't tell AJ anything. So we're working with that guy to figure out, hey, we continue to have this problem. We had 4 times during January. And obviously either A, it's not being repaired as it should be, or there's something else going on. So we're working with them. We conducted interviews for assistant chief interviews, and we promoted Mr. Hickerson here to assistant chief. That's a great thing. He's working well with us. On the backside, carpet floor replacement. I've submitted a request for a purchase order today to get the downstairs floors and the foyer and the day room down there done. Just like the upstairs has been done, and the bathrooms have been done. Also submitted one to buy 4 new bed frames for the beds at Station 2. Hydrant painting, we'll talk to him sometime in March or April. The only thing I really had on the air packs was, when we do work on next year's budget, we need to buy 10 more packs and bottles to store up our process.
I thought we agreed to do that, didn't we?
Yes, sir, we did. I think we did.
Just ran out of money in this year's
Right.
budget,
Right.
so we bought the biggest bulk of them.
About 20 of them this year.
We'll put the others in next year's.
Motorola Peter, I'm trying to talk to the Motorola rep to get a follow-up on the pricing that he gave us last time. So I'm still working with him. Replacement engine, I plan on submitting information to the finance committee, so we can put that on the committee list this month. Same thing for the new fire marshal's vehicle. Assistant Chief Hickerson got a quote in this weekend for, it was like, what, $2,000 more than the original quote, so it's $32.55 for, that's for an XLT all-wheel drive red pickup. Maverick? Maverick. And the reason why you gotta get XLTs because the XL doesn't come in red. The XLT comes in red, so it costs $2,000 more.
So how much more does it cost to have it in red than having it in white?
$2,000.
$2,000, about $2,000. I think so, yes, sir.
Well, you also get the upgrade from the XL, so everything
Right.
that upgrades from XL to XLT you get, which doesn't really matter, but you still get those things with that $2,000 extra
All right, I
price.
get you, but I mean, I don't know if it's worth $2,000. Why is it worth $2,000 to have it red? That's what I wanna understand.
We're a fire department.
Fire department's red.
What color's the vehicle you're driving?
My new one will be red, and his new one will be red, and the rest of them will be
But
red.
the old one's white, right?
Mine's black.
We got black, we got white, we
Yeah.
got gray.
We're trying to get everybody to red. This is the first step to get red.
All right.
Should all be red.
Not worth it to me.
Station monitors, I'll let Assistant Chief Hickerson talk about that one.
So with that,
That's right.
it's just gonna display
How
information
about that?
at the stations. introduce, papers and stuff like that. It'll roll out, you know, new promotions, new hires, things like that for our slideshows that go across it. It integrates with, several different apps that we have. But it's something that, just getting with the times on stuff. It'll be a good asset to both of our stations for personnel, being able to see different things.
Because it'll show like, the Waze map on I-24 and in the city. Because you can look on your Waze in the city at certain times of the day and see red and orange where the city's backed up because of the school zone, or it's backed up because of an MVA here, same thing on the interstate. It'll show our active 911 response, so it'll pop up with that alert, you know, MVA 2518 Hillsborough Boulevard by Walmart. It'll list, the active 911 lists the nature of what else is going on there. It'll also has the weather, you know, like weather bug or whatever it is, so you can monitor the weather during normal day-to-day operations, and you can also monitor the weather during severe weather operations. So it'll be a great tool, really good tool. You can put daily activities, training, like our burn permits. Right now, we run our burn permits on a sheet of paper and place it. So what we'll do now with this program, we'll type in the burn permit on there, so the burn permit will be displayed at both stations. So somebody calls, some people will call Station 2 and say, you know, they're burning over here at 123 Main Street, and they can look up there and say, yeah, we've got an active permit there. If we need to go check it out, we'll go check it out. But somebody's got a permit there, we'll just brief them on that, and we'll go from there. So that's all good.
Cool.
That's all I had.
I had a question, Wade, I probably should have done some more research on this before asking, but you answer it. And then, if we have a call to a fire, do we report a claim? Is there any kind of claim process to their insurance of the fire?
Their insurance will call us for a copy of the report. You know, like the guy that had the fire on Woodland Street. You know, we told him, hey, we'll have the report done in the next 24 hours, and we got it done like next day. So we give him a copy of the report, he gives it to his insurance company. The Red Cross called for a copy of the report because after the fire, the people needed some Red Cross support like 2 weeks later, so they needed a copy for their records. So they'll call us and ask us, and we'll send them a copy of our fire report, and they'll work through their insurance with that.
There's no call reimbursement fee or anything?
No,
like
sir,
that?
no, sir, no, sir.
I was in a community where just recently there was a collection fee that it's built into your policy already. And the city there was so much revenue coming from that collection fee. And I just so happened to be at a meeting and heard it, and I was like,
No, because I think last year we had structural fire-wise, and
sure, not
I'm
enough.
just pulling a number off the top of my head, but I think we had like 12.
Maybe.
I think we had 12 last year for the whole year. That involved the facility. Now, we had a lot of other fires, grass fires, trash fires, dumpster fires, car fires. But I think we only had 12 structural fires last year, which is down from like 21 or 22 the year before. So really, the goal is to get less, but we can't control that goal. But I think last year really didn't have any. But I know people that do that,
Yeah.
that do charge for that fire service. And I was talking with the mayor this month, and we met with MTS this morning. And one of the questions on the MTS side is, we used to charge for an extrication fee. And then I went to class and learned that I couldn't do that. Okay, so we stopped doing that. And now we're gonna readdress it and talk to them again and say, okay, we've got this other standard that the mayor sent me. It's in the TCA code. So we're gonna look at that TCA code, have them research it and see if we can or cannot charge for MVAs that don't involve citizens of Coffee County. And if we could do that, then we would go back to doing that charge, and then it's up to, we send it to State Farm or Progressive or Allstate. Now, if Allstate or Progressive or State Farm want to pay it, they can. If they don't, they don't have to. We can make the attempt to send it to them and see what kind of revenue you can collect off of it.
So to add to that, I mean, part of what, there's fees that insurance companies pay for services, right? There could be hazmat, there could be, cleaning up the oil and the gas and some of those things. And we haven't really been doing a lot of that, but we're exploring that and putting a fee system together through MTask. And we'll propose it to everybody, make sure everybody's on board. And it's not that we're looking for revenues, look, a lot of their equipment's expensive, and if it would just pay to service some of the things that we use on those, sites, what did we talk about? I think your extrication equipment.
Yes, sir.
Is like $2,700 a year just to service it, to keep it working. If we could just recoup some of that, he can put that back into his budget to do some other things with, that's paid for by the insurance company, but, more to follow, I mean.
I think the most important part of what you said is, and most of this is, it aesthetically sounds terrible for you to say, well,
Yes, sir.
you gotta pay for this, you know. That's not how it is. Most insurance policies actually include these fees in them already, and so that's why I followed up there that night, and they said, hey, you need to get with TML. So I was just gonna say, that might be something that
We'll look at that.
you could, and they may have a whole entire, if you
I
guys are
think-
already looking at it.
I wanna say our sister city did that for a while, but then they stopped for whatever reason, but I can look at that.
And just while you're at it, see if they have a list of fees that we can.
Who's our sister city?
Those guys across the creek.
Don't say anything to him about that.
You already heard where he's at on the red truck, let's not get him going here.
All right, that's all I've got.
It's gonna be the Gulf of Manchester before the end of the. All right, any more questions for the fire department? All right, you're dismissed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Police department.
Good evening.
Good evening, y'all. We'll let y'all dive on in.
All right. Well, we'll start out with our January stats. MPD answered 1,554 calls for the month of January. Let me get y'all a copy here real quick.
You guys. Thank you, sir. What you can do is get over there passing out papers for you.
Many hats, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, just reporting on our budget, we're still approximately 30% of our budget.
Nice.
And community events, the 27th and 28th, once again, we assisted Director Fisk at her request in presentation of a civilian response to active shooter situations for city employees. Assistant Chief Floyd presented the information, and it turned out to be very, very informative. As a matter of fact, I'm sure a lot of the city employees carried away, well, what do I do if I'm in a business, or I'm in a school, or I'm at City Hall, or in my workplace? What do I do in the case of an active situation where a person comes in with a handgun? So a lot of that information was covered, and like I say, it was very informative to the employees as well. So our upcoming events, Grace Baptist has invited us and our department to their church for a Police Appreciation Day. And that's this coming February the 16th. This will be honoring officers for the service to their community. And they've also invited us to enter in a chili and a soup cook-off if we prefer during that time. So we thought this was pretty gracious of them. We'll get into MPD vehicles. We had actually a couple of accidents since we've seen each other last. On the 24th of January, we had an officer who had discovered Unit 2307 to have sustained damage to the engine compartment hood. And this was like, I don't know, it looked like a pipe of some kind may have laid across the right quarter portion of the front of the hood. He noticed this once he had completed his evening meal at Waffle House, and so officers went and reviewed the business video to see if maybe it occurred there, which which it was determined that the damage did not occur there. The unit had been parked here behind the police department. The normal officer who operated that vehicle was on vacation at the time, so it had been there maybe a day or two or so. And the officer that was operating the vehicle that night was one of our part-time officers. And of course, it was dark when he came on duty to get in the car, so he did not notice the damage at the time. So we are awaiting cost estimates on that damage to get that repaired. And then on February the 5th, we had a officer who was traveling from Southern End to Raceway service station, and the officer utilized the breakdown lane on the edge of the northbound traffic lane, and upon attempting to pull in the parking lot of Raceway, his vehicle was struck by another vehicle attempting to pull out of Raceway at the time. And so minor damages were sustained to our vehicle, being rear wheel alignment. However, the other motorist sustained damages to his vehicle that I'm just guessing would probably be in the $2,500 to $3,500 range.
We've got insurance for all that, right?
Yes, sir, we do.
Is that a legal turn?
No, it's not. The wreck was worked by the county.
Yeah.
And of course, they indicated in that it was improper
Yeah.
lane usage, and the cause of the accident would be considered our fault in this case. We are working with that officer. This was the first incident of this type with him. So we are working with him. We're going to do some remedial emergency operations training with him, as well as our policy and state law. So hopefully we'll get that corrected and not foreseeably see that happen again in the future.
Can't enforce it if you don't follow it.
That's true. And just to report on our 4 new Durangos, we have picked them up from the dealership. They are here, and we are awaiting their equipment arrival to begin installation as soon as that happens.
Nice.
Also, just to follow up on one thing, the decals that were requested at the last meeting, we are in the process of getting those ordered to us. We had several different ones to look at. And I will try to get those to you this week to see if you have a preference on the colors and things, and we'll move from there.
These blue, these are fleece. And I'll defer to you guys, but I'd be happy to look at it.
I mean, no, can you get them in a color that's any cheaper for Alderman Messing?
Well,
Can you not take a magic marker and just write on the car?
yeah,
Get a stencil.
Wow.
we're actually looking at a combination of blue and red, actually.
There you go.
Just to throw another spoke in the window. And it would actually match some decals that are on the cars as well.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
and then department changes and improvements, once again, personnel office location changes are working out well. We've combined the investigations personnel to create a more cohesive and informative work environment, which freed up one office to give our major his own office. In personnel, the 3 officers we just hired, Justin D. Smith, Justin T. Smith, and Hunter Thompson, were all sworn in by Mayor Hobbs on January the 27th. Justin T. Smith is going to be one of our part-time officers who, once again, previously worked for us back several years ago and is currently a captain at the Suwanee Police Department. D. Smith, okay, I'm sorry, Justin D. Smith is that one, Justin Darrell Smith. And so we're in the process of trying to keep them separated. I think we're going to nickname one of them Red. And so,
Maybe full-time Justin and part-time Justin.
yeah, we could do that as well. We currently have the following vacancies, and that's 2 full-time patrol positions, 1 investigator position, and 1 crossing guard position. We recently received an applicant for a crossing guard, which seems to be a good applicant, and a lot of potential there. And this person's just looking for this kind of part-time job.
Do we pay crossing guards?
Yes, sir, we do. We actually, we pay them, but the school reimburses that.
I didn't say anything.
It's just
They do, I mean, I think they do a great job.
Okay.
Probably don't pay them enough.
So with regard to promotions and MPD, we did conduct some interviews to fill the vacant position left by investigator, our former investigator, Brian Eldridge, who was promoted to chief investigator. The three internal candidates that we interviewed was Sergeant Benton Brown, Officer Morgan Myers, and SRO Cody Lindley. All three of these submitted applications. However, Sergeant Brown later withdrew his application, stating he just felt probably right now best time would be for him to stay where he is rather than to move into the investigative field. Those candidates are being considered at this time, and we expect to make an announcement this week. Once again, Captain Keith Hendricks, who's currently out on medical leave, is doing well, and he's got a walker. He's able to walk about with it a little bit, and he's still got a very swollen knee, but upon speaking with him, he seemed to be doing well, recovering. Our training, latest training, our newest graduates from the Police Academy, Bailey Johnson, Drew Leith, and Tim Green, are doing well as they continue to progress through their Phase 4 observation training. Of course, we had them up here during the BOMA meeting and introduced them to the board. Major West attended the Glock MOS Optic Sight Instructor School and is now certified to install and train officers on the installation and shooting of sidearms incorporating optic sights. They certainly help to enhance target acquisition and accuracy with respect to the agencies that have incorporated these on their firearms. Sergeant Frost also attended the UT-LEIC Advanced Leadership and Supervision course, and Assistant Chief Floyd has attended the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police Conference this past week, which is just a continuing leadership class. Let's see, as far as miscellaneous, there's a couple of things I'd like to enter into discussion with you with. And the first item would be firearms. Our weapons currently we purchased them back in 2013. And of course, each year we'll shoot 100 or more rounds through those weapons. And over the 10, 11 years, we see a lot of wear and tear on the weapons. And we're getting to a point to where there's a recommendation, I'm told by our armor, that the manufacturer recommends the replacement of these weapons for policing agencies because of the usage they go through. So we have contacted a vendor that is on state contract regarding the purchase of weapons and also the selling of our current weapons to them. And I'm going to let Adam go into the details on that. He followed up on it and give you a little more information to consider.
We currently carry a Glock 40 caliber, and after speaking with the Highway Patrol's Armor Division, they just recently upgraded their sidearms back to 9mm, which is a good move with the advancement of cartridges. 9mm are just as good as a 40 caliber that we currently carry, and it's even probably better suited for smaller hands, not as strong individuals. And so we went and checked with the state, and they allowed me to kind of see they did all the research and development for us. So they shared that data with us, and an important part of what they found was putting an optic on the pistol. It's just a very small optic that you can train to shoot with both eyes open. It's easy to put that dot on the target. It's easier to acquire your target. And poor shooters have drastically increased their accuracy, and good shooters have gotten even better. And also a light. The most important part of this is the newer guns, 9mm with that optic. We would put a light on it, similar to what Highway Patrol did. It's a smart move. Now, the optics are very stable, very secure, very durable. It's just taken a while for manufacturers to make them work on a pistol the way they do now. So we would recommend going with the exact same system the Highway Patrol has went to. And that would be a Glock 45 9mm with a streamlight flashlight and a loop-holed optic. And for the entire department, another important part of that, before I get too far ahead of myself, is we would trade in our current pistols, and that's a value of approximately $230 per pistol. Officers would have a chance to buy that pistol back from the company. Craig's Firearms, they've got the state contract. You don't have to. They're going to get the same money regardless. We would get the same credit. Officers, a lot of times, want sentimental values, be able to buy their weapon back. So they would have the option of doing that from Craig's. And then we have confiscated weapons that we acquire over the years that we need to get rid of. And we're allowed to do that to specific dealers. Craig's is one that would be capable of handling that. We would put those out for bids, and they could either go towards credit towards the pistols or credit towards new ammunition. We would need to get changing calibers. Mark's sitting there wondering, how much is this gonna cost? And I can tell you, it's gonna cost $47,478. As Bill said earlier, we're in probably better shape this year than we've been in many years on our budget. I feel like I sent Ryan an email last week. There's a couple line items that I feel like we can accommodate this without any burden on the taxpayer, without asking for any increase next year. And I think we can absorb it. I'm very confident we can absorb that cost in this year's budget. And it's just time to replace these guns. It's a big liability. They're metal parts wear out, and we shoot them a lot. So I think it's not really a dedicated time frame to do it. It's how much you use them, and it's time for us to try to do that.
So that needs to go before, we have to do a budget amendment to do that? We're taking,
Yeah, because we'll
I
be
think we
moving some money
would,
around.
yeah.
I'll make a motion, and I'll share that information with you guys that Adam sent me. When we had the conversation, I asked him, moving forward, when we start doing budget amendments, because I think, Bill went over it at the very beginning, we're only at 30% of the budget, and we're already 8 months into the year. So, there's money there to do it. But what I wanted to do is, before we take it to BOMA, to know what line items that we would be adjusting on the front end, rather than it getting all the way back to the budget amendment and then finding out.
So
Because when we're looking there, sometimes it's hard to see what the adjustment is.
You wanna see a balance sheet?
this body, right, you make recommendation to finance, and then finance will do their part, and we'll make sure we do that line item for you, for BOMA.
Yeah, and he's actually given me the line items, so we've got those identified, so. All right, I'll make a motion, we send it to Finance Committee.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 3-0. So this is Finance. And if you don't mind, Adam, I'm just gonna forward that email to Finance.
Okay, very good. So our next item is, the EMA has a couple of vehicles that they're preparing to sell, and this is contingent upon the approval of their commission to sell those. They are 2022 Ford Explorers, and they're already fully equipped police packages in them. So we would just have to simply put one of our radios in them if we were allowed to make that purchase. They only have roughly between 25, 30,000, less than 30,000 miles on each of these vehicles. And they're wanting to sell these things at 25,000 each, which is really under, when you consider the equipment and everything, they're all ready to go, under the NADA market values. We feel we were going to purchase a vehicle through our drug fund. One of the purchases would be made through it. And then the other, once again, considering our underruns and stuff in our budget, we would like to maybe make a purchase of the second one there. We anticipate that if approved, one of them would go to investigations to be used as an investigator vehicle, and we would turn around and sell probably one of the vehicles that we have now, and that's one of our, it's a Tahoe, 2015 Tahoe, I believe it is. We'd look at possibly selling it in place of getting this vehicle. We have probably got 100,000 plus miles on it. And then the other vehicle would be an admin vehicle. We would replace one of those.
They're not red, are they?
I hope so.
No.
Listen, I don't see any problem, as long as you got it in your budget. You're not asking for any new money that we haven't already given you.
Or entertain a motion to send it to finance. You should put it in
I'll
the form
make
of
that motion, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'll
need a
second.
Okay, any further discussion on the vehicles? Having none, all in favor? All opposed? Passes 3-0.
So one other thing, now Adam oversees our Gov Deals program, and we had sold some equipment here recently. He may have the values on them for you. Go ahead.
So yeah, we sold a lot of items for street and some of our stuff that we've been needing to get rid of, and it all went final today. So street totaled a little over $30,000 in the equipment they sold, and we totaled about almost $21,000 in the equipment we sold. So talking about, we paid for one of those Explorers just in what we sold today on our half.
Does the money go back to each department, or does it go in general
Depends
fund?
on where it was, I mean, theirs will probably go into the drug fund, which is probably where most of that was purchased from, and Adam, George was going to the general fund, for his new purchases. Probably 3 months now, 4 months ago, I tasked everybody with getting through their asset list, let's get rid of stuff, and they've done a really good job. I don't know how many items that is, but it's just things we had sitting around that, we weren't using, so.
It's probably about
$151,000.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all positive. We make a couple of jokes about Fred Lamont, but they're doing a fine job.
And we should be in completion, final phase of our annual report, so we'll probably get that emailed initially to each of you this week for you to review and look at it. If you want to discuss or have any discussions, the next meeting, we'll go ahead and entertain that.
I appreciate it, gentlemen.
Good job, thank you guys.
All right, any new business, any old business, any comments?
Who did,
All right, motion adjourns on the table, seconded, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
a minute early.
Motion carries.